Welcome to Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends, an authentic podcast where we sit and discuss all things spiritual. Hello, everyone. I am Christy Godwin. Welcome to Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends. And I want to welcome my wonderful guest today, Mark Mezadourian. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Mark is an intuitive and he specializes in connecting with people's angels and guides. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Christy. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Now, I do want to give everyone a heads up on where they can contact you. You have all the social media outlets, website, markmezadourian.com. You also have Twitter, YouTube, and you said you're very active on Instagram.
Yes.
I think I might have Mark give me some lessons later on Instagram. I'm a little Instagram challenge.
We'll work on it. It takes a village with that.
Yeah, yes, right. I know. So we are here to talk with Mark about angels. Now, as I said, he specializes in connecting with people, guides, and angels. And there is so much talk. I get so many questions about angels. I was so excited to have you on this podcast. So, but first, let's get into your background a little bit. Now, you didn't just wake up one day and start talking to angels. It came a little bit slower to you, right? Gradually.
Yeah. Yes, my family's naturally intuitive, but it was all random and had no technique or no focus to it. Just things would happen, or like I would know something, or there's a history with it with my grandmother, this is her lamp, my grandmother Sarah, and in her paintings. But in 1998, I had an anxiety attack, which is very, very informative. And to make a very long story short, I came back from a trip. And my apartment had been violated by the person staying there. They basically destroyed the apartment. And I had an anxiety attack a couple of days later. And in recovering from that, it was super informative because the anxiety attack told me that what I was doing wasn't working. And then, so I got more help. I started seeing an EMDR therapist. I started seeing a chiropractor and stuff like that. And in the therapy, the therapist was spiritual, but also at the same time, my sister, Rachel, who does angel work, introduced me to an angel teacher. And all these things started to coalesce where I started having a relationship with the angels and calling upon them and getting information. And that was just super helpful. And it was like the perfect thing at the perfect time. But the most dramatic thing is so with my apartment being violated, kicking this person out, there was a negative energy in my apartment. And I didn't know how to get rid of it. And a friend brought a friend over who told me how to get rid of it, none of which I would do now. But also I called in Archangel Michael. So I go into my apartment one day to reclaim my place and get the bleep out of my apartment. And apartment had a long hallway. I was in the bedroom with a bowl of citrus, and which I wouldn't use now probably. But and out of the corner of my eye in the living room, I saw this like black thing, this like black bear. And I instinctively threw this bowl down the hallway. It landed in the center of the room perfectly, did not break. The toilet flushed and it was gone. And so the main thing happened there was like, well, what actually happened?
Yes.
What actually happened there?
Yes.
I'm like, how did that happen? And so it started to really build this relationship with Archangel Michael. And he's kind of like the go-to angel. And just seeing like, hey, Michael, what about this? Or hey, Michael, thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you, Michael, for helping me with this. And being a recovering cynical person, my goal in this work has been, what do they say? Not to what do people say about the angels, but what do they say?
Yes.
And in tuning into that, it's recognizing that they do work with unconditional love, that they see us with great clarity of who we actually are.
Yes.
And that they'll tell the truth and that they're here to help us out.
Yes.
So that's the basic origin story. And that has continued in terms of the focus of what I consider my job to do with this is to report what they say.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot agree with what you have said enough. When I first, as everyone that watches this podcast knows, I'm a psychic medium. And when I first started doing psychic mediumship work, angels were my first go-to. They were the first people and when I channel now, I typically channel. Well, also, I don't know how it works for you, but Jesus and Mother Mary come to me on the angelic realm.
Yeah.
So when I channel angels, it will be either an angel or one of them. But I did not tell Mark I was going to do this. And it was, I'm going to quote him. So I hope he doesn't mind. And it had come across and I was just texting him back and forth. And I wanted to make sure I kind of knew where you stood on angels. I was like, this sums it up perfectly. He said, because I asked Michael, I said, do you believe in the 9 choirs? Do you believe in the different divisions of angels? And he said, I see angels as free agents, not aligned with any faith. My interest is in what they actually say rather than what people say about them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was so beautiful. And I will say that whenever you're talking about clearing the house, and again, he didn't know I was going to bring this up because he just mentioned it, but I always feel like that people have the power themselves to call upon angels and clear their own spaces. I mean, is it sometimes fun to have someone come in and kind of direct you through that? If you have a friend that knows someone who can do house clearing, yeah, it can be fun. But the power comes from each individual person calling in their angels and doing it. Do you agree?
I agree. And this is the law of free will, which is that there's nothing inhibiting us besides decades and centuries of diminishing our worth, but to go, thank you, Archangel Michael, for being with me right now. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for clearing my energy and my environment, and letting him do just that.
And it's just as simple as that.
Simple as that. And to release any sense of complication between ourselves and the angels whatsoever. Absolutely. And that might take a little bit of work to get used to that. Yeah.
Yes.
What were you going to say?
I think that we try to make things too difficult. Invite the angels in, invite their love in. That also angels are multidimensional. I hear a lot of people are worried that, well, am I overworking the angels? If Michael is with, like if Mark is calling on angel, then I can't call on Mark. I mean, because Michael's with Mark. I want him to be with me. Angels are multidimensional and they can be in unlimited number of places at one time.
Everywhere at once. They're not bound by time or space.
Yes. So now
they want to help us is the main thing. They're here to help us.
They are here to help us. And there's a certain amount, I feel like people feel separation between us and angels.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're just love.
We're repeatedly told that we suck and we don't suck. We're repeatedly told that good is somewhere else. And this is all over pop songs too, like love is elsewhere, like love is outside of us. We're lucky to get love. We're negotiating for love. Also, with the history of religion, there's a middleman, and it's usually a man, of almost always a man between. And it's just recognizing that it's safe for us. And there's a legacy of harm with this too. There's a space where we can communicate directly to the angels and to the guides, to any guide that we want. And to work that as a muscle and to get used to that. Thank you, angels, for being with me. Thank you, angels, for being with me. Thank you, Horus. Thank you, Ganesh, for being with me. Just whoever it is that, thank you, David Bowie, for being with me. Whoever it is that really appeals to you. And I think there's a central point here, which is, and it sounds facetious, but it's not, what else are they doing? What else are they doing? They're here to help us out. And if they're not bound by time or space, and it's just welcoming their presence into our lives and using our free will, which is the way they work. They'll help us out if we're in desperate need or in need, they will do stuff, but it amplifies everything when we use our free will and just ask, thank you, angels, for being with me.
Absolutely. And then walk and trust that they're there. It's in building that trust and looking for the synchronicities. I'm a big fan of when I'm teaching classes, of telling people, ask your angels, your guides, your loved ones to give you a sign that they're around you.
Yeah.
But then you have to trust that they're going to do that. You can use your logical brain to excuse anything and say if something falls over in there's the wind, you can use your logical brain to excuse away any sign that your angels are around.
Yeah.
But walking in trust and recognizing it just creates such a beautiful love bond and allows them to manifest so much more powerfully in your life.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love how you talked about just then, there's usually a middleman. I just have such a firm belief that we come from love and we are love. And as long as we're communicating in love, we're opening up this beautiful arena for miracles to take place in our lives. And sometimes people think that miracles are someone being instantly healed. But to me, a miracle can be that you have been sad for months and all of a sudden you wake up and you're in a happy mood. That is a miracle.
Yeah. That just happened with a woman who's a regular in the events that I do. She woke up feeling free.
Beautiful. That is a
wonderful
beautiful.
thing.
Yes. Yeah. Or to forgive someone that you felt like you were never going to be able to forgive. When you wake up and you're not holding that grudge any longer, that in itself is a miracle.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have some questions we're going to walk through.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling Mark, not only did I come up with my own, I was messaging other people. Give me some individual questions.
Great. You did your research. That's wonderful.
I did. I was all over his social media. Okay. Now, for you personally, Mark, is there an angel that comes to you more often than other angels?
I would say Archangel Michael is part of the work every single day, and it just opens up the arena for other guides to come forward. But he is the central figure for sure, and just seeing him as a friend, and seeing him as the one who's always available. And I think what's very helpful about him as an angel and a presence and a guide is he's very demonstrative. Like, it's a big presence. People often feel warmth, or it's just he's easy to tune into, and also the recognizability.
He is very easy to tune into, isn't he?
Yeah.
I had another psychic medium visiting me not too long ago. What do psychic mediums do when they get together? We channel. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And I had channeled Metatron. And she had mentioned, just given her background, she's like, oh my goodness. She said the other day she was about to channel and she had two angels step forward. One was Metatron and one was Michael. And she went with Michael because Metatron basically intimidated her.
Okay.
And so I'm saying that because I want people to know that Michael is accessible to everyone. Don't be intimidated because he's such a big presence. Metatron is accessible to everyone. Don't be intimidated because you think they may be a big presence.
Yeah.
I love what you said. Just a few minutes ago, you said, what else do they have to do? They're here to help us.
It sounds like a joke, but I think this gets into folks who are passed away. And if we could see in the last several years, especially since 2016, there's been a whole lot of people pass it. Yes. And like, if you look at I mentioned David Bowie before. So he's a great guide. He's a great guide, as is George Michael, as is Freddie Mercury, as is Maya Angelou. And it's just getting to this space of and our loved ones too, like, just they're available to us, and especially folks who are mass communicators. They're already used to that energy, especially musicians and writers and performers. But Joan Didion passed earlier in the year, and she came forward. I have these several held spaces, and what I like to do is to create a space and to see who shows up. And she came forward. And she was like thrilled and just like, oh, you guys are all here, and just seeing that everything is possible and everyone is available, including our loved ones. And it might be harder because we have so much attachment emotionally to loved ones and such. And this is where mediumship, it's very helpful to have someone facilitate that space, but trusting that they hear us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I tell people that, yes, I am a medium. I love contacting people's past relatives. But when they sit in front of me and say, tell them I love them, my instant reaction is I will, but you don't need me to do that. They hear you.
Yeah.
They absolutely hear you. And most of the time I can tell people sitting in front, not most, but say all of the time, I can tell you how your relative communicates with you. Or are they just dropping in clairaudiently, claircognizantly, clairsentiently? We're just not trained to recognize it. Most people aren't.
Yeah. I do think there's a point that's worth making around this, which is that there's no formality to how all this works. And we are often, we were taught repeatedly, we mentioned before about worthiness, that we're unworthy, but also that we're not taught how to have a spiritual life and such. And we typically have to discover that for ourselves. And we enter that space usually through some kind of suffering. We learn through suffering or insight. It's usually suffering. Like, I had an anxiety attack and such. But just seeing where, yes, your loved ones are listening, they are available, and that the angels are listening, they are available, and that it's safe for us.
There's no formality to it.
No, but we're not taught that. And so it does, what I see is that wound of unworthiness or lack of deserving is right in the way of
Yeah.
that. And this idea also, which where, two incredibly recognizable figures, Jesus and Joan of Arc, were both intuitive and killed for it. So there's this legacy of harm that is always worth just
Absolutely.
introducing and recognizing that, like, what happened to them won't happen to you. And that in Western culture, no one is targeting intuitives or people who use intuition. And that we're
Right.
hardwired for it.
Absolutely.
It's natural.
So
Yeah.
now, do you think that our society in general kind of, I feel some fear associated sometimes with intuitive abilities or with
Mhm.
what I do, probably with what you do. There's some fear
Mhm.
associated with it,
Mhm.
which to me, fear just creates separation.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
whenever, how can you live in this unconditional love vibration if people are creating fear and trying to separate you? We're all one.
Yeah. There's several things. It's a great question. There's several things with that. One, I think the main thing, and we're seeing it perhaps quite demonstratively now, which is all the messages that are given to us, and I do think it's intentional to create separation, to undermine us, like
Yes.
so and so is in charge. And right now it's like the reverence of billionaires and such, and most of whom are unkind,
Yes.
and not generous, you
Yeah.
know and not adults, not conscious adults, but acting out of the adolescent mine, my
Yeah.
spaceship, um, you know, rather than circulating abundance. And
Yes.
so with that, it's a scene where in an era we could find every fact that we possibly would want to find, anything's available, that the advocacy or being taught to have division and to fear each other and to be angry at each other, if we could perhaps on a spiritual level see past that and
Mhm.
recognize that we all want the same things, that every single person on the planet, every single deer and doe and dove, wants peace and love and
Right.
wants abundance. It's very simply not attaching to our method of what peace and love. So if peace and love means that you've defeated and destroyed people you disagree with or disagree with you, then you have peace.
Yes.
But that's a little short-sighted. um, I think it's worth recognizing in this specific period of time, there's lots of things to talk about with this, um, that by doing spiritual work, especially during the pandemic and this you know seemingly post-pandemic world, that we're leading we're
Mhm.
leading by doing spiritual work, by having intention,
Mhm. Mhm.
by having a vision for a world that is whole and healthy, where everyone thrives. And something that helps, I've done this before for years with all the violence, the mass shootings and such, is to have the goal to create a world where no one gets lost.
Yes.
So people
Yes.
don't feel that their only option or their only
Mhm.
value comes from harming others. And to get into a space where we do honor each other and help each other out.
And I will like to say, wherever people are watching this podcast, whether it's on a podcast platform
Mhm.
or if it's on YouTube, I'm recording it at about 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. This morning, before I did this podcast, I had a friend over. I hadn't seen her in a while. We just had a quick bagels and
Mhm.
reconnect.
Mhm.
And we were talking kind of about that situation, the not getting political at all.
Mhm.
This is not about gun control or any of that, but she mentioned some of the mass shootings that you talked about. I said,
Mhm.
my greater concern is what kind of society are we living in that we are creating individuals who are so hurt that they think that is their only way of being seen.
Yeah.
Now,
It's through destruction. Mhm.
if people that feel that way ever had been wrapped in love,
Mhm.
what a difference it would have made in their life.
Yes. And this is where we can have strong intention. And I've done in different groups, and usually after Sandy Hook 10 years ago, would do several calls, group calls afterwards, with the intention of that, of like creating a world where no one gets lost and asking the angels to intervene. But this ultimately isn't about the angels stopping things. It's about people choosing peace.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and yeah, and for America to be done with guns and the fear that is behind the guns.
And I like what you just said, because you said a lot of people look for angels to stop it, for God to stop it. You're giving
Yeah,
away your power.
right. It's
It
us.
is, it is within our own ability to create a safe, loving space, a safe,
Mhm,
loving world, that this
mhm.
world is going to be healed.
Yeah, yeah. And that's doable.
Yes,
That's our
it
work.
is. And
Mhm.
I will go live on TikTok sometimes and just do readings. It just,
Uh-huh.
but at the end of the TikTok, I will invite people to stay behind, and
Mhm,
I will walk them through a meditation where
mhm,
we create, channel love through ourselves. We give it through our house, then our
mhm.
city, our state, United States, and before long, we have the entire world surrounded in love.
Wonderful.
There have been studies shown. I can't remember who the study was by because I didn't look it up before we got on here, but they had dropped some monks into, I don't know if you ever remember this, Mark, they had dropped some monks into a very crime-ridden area. And these monks didn't go out and walk amongst the people. They sat and meditated.
Yeah.
But just their meditation brought down the crime rate in that area because they were changing the vibration.
Yes. Yes. So if we could just talk about the first, I know you want to get to your questions, but
No, no, I'm
but
all about it.
yeah, it's all about shifting vibration. And this has been the angel message, which is so, when the elementary school shooting happened in Texas, that I had a call that night. I do free health spaces and other things too, but it was a Tuesday. And so we had this intention, people were upset. And what the angels came up with, the first thing I prayed, and Mother Mary showed herself going into every single home in the world, home, and followed by Archangel Michael. So they would go, and then delivering good, delivering love into every single home, and then going to the next home, delivering love, the next home, and delivering love all around the world. That's
Yeah,
their response to a tragedy like that.
absolutely.
But in changing the vibration, it is, and it's amplified when we do it together, but just having, thank you, angels, for the world being safe. Thank you for everyone's needs being met. Thank you, angels, for
Yes,
this peace, the peace and harmony that I encountered during this day. And then,
right.
so anything we do, especially in the morning before we encounter the world, helps. And especially for sensitive people, especially empaths. And I have a whole playlist on YouTube for free on empaths, that we fill things up. And the empath truth is that if we're sensitive to energy, that we could influence energy.
Yes, yes,
And it's inverting
absolutely.
the equation of energy going this way. With empaths, we're like, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? And if we invert that and call in the angels, thank you, Archangel Michael, for being with me. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for surrounding me with 1,000 feet of unconditional love. And that goes out. And that's the monks in the area,
Yes,
just having a
absolutely.
different vibration.
I do want to mention, because you had mentioned your the where you hold space, it
Yeah.
was a free, that's on your website. So if people want
On my
to
website.
look at
Mhm,
what Mark is offering in this
mhm,
free held space event
mhm,
that he does, go to his website, markmezadourian.com. Also on his YouTube channel, he has a
mhm.
lot of just free teachings out
There's
there
a lot of
that
stuff.
people have
Mhm,
access to. And
mhm,
I also want to mention that Mark was talking about calling in angels to
mhm,
change the, yes, absolutely. And part of my
mhm,
meditation is I ask the angels to just surround every human and have them feel unconditional love. But
mhm.
also, I know this is going to be shocking to people. Humans have the ability to do that also. Humans can tap into their love space, their heart center, and push love. You can channel the love of the angels.
Mhm.
And I'm seeing that more and more. Mark, are you seeing more and more intuitive people coming to you and just wanting to know how to do that?
Yes, and I think why is, and it's mainly people with some maturity, usually people
Yes.
perhaps in their 40s, 50s, 60s and such. When people know what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
And it's getting past, like, the American obsession with rational thought and all this stuff. And
Yes.
just, so by doing spirituality, we're using all of ourselves rather than just parts of ourselves, that we're using
Absolutely.
our bodies, we're using our intellect, we're using our intention, we're using our hearts, we're using our emotions, we're using our energy,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so, and that feels good. It's very satisfying.
It
That's one
is.
of the fascinating things about this work, is that that our bodies respond to it instantaneously, that our bodies
Doesn't it?
rejoice and celebrate in doing this.
Yes,
You know?
yes, absolutely. And you can start feeling healing occur, but sometimes, yes, it's physical healing, but sometimes it's emotional healing. When
Mhm,
you're walking to that love vibration, you just feel more whole.
mhm. Yeah, indeed.
Okay, so do you usually see, I get this question a lot, do you usually see just angels? When you see someone in front of you, do you instantly see an angel around them, or do you have to kind of tap into that realm?
That would be utterly overwhelming. So
What?
no, the answer is no. But I have, and I do think this is worth talking about for a moment, which is that, so that would be overwhelming.
Yes.
So I have, we can, let the angels know and let our bodies know how we want to receive. So I do some spiritual practice every single morning. If it's simple as thank you, angels, for this wonderful day. Thank you for all my interactions being positive, something, and is having intention. There was this full moon last night, did a lot of prayer. But within that, sorry, what was the point?
I thought it would be overwhelming if you just
Overwhelming
kept
that,
your, yeah.
that there's a code. Like if they want me to pay attention to something, they'll buzz my third eye, they'll buzz my ears, or they'll
Yes.
flash. But otherwise it would just be this onslaught of taking on too much energy. So no, but they'll let me know what's happening, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't, at least for me, it doesn't work to tune in all the time. But when I'm working, it's very easy to tune in.
Absolutely.
And it's just there's a context to it. But so in that space, yeah, it's easy, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Same thing when I work is people think that when I'm out and about in public, I'm constantly getting overwhelmed. No, now when I'm out in public, can a spirit get my attention? Yes,
Sure.
but it's kind of like you. And spirits know if they want my attention bad enough, they know how to get it.
Yeah.
But spirits are respectful of our time and our just you. It would be like you said, it would make yourself crazy if you just were constantly had this onslaught of, because if I were to let my guard down, as I'm sure if you did too, and look
Mhm.
to the spirit realm, like right now in my office, while I'm talking to Mark, there's a whole world going on over there.
Mhm.
Spirits walking, angels around me, guides, just it'd be too much.
Mhm. Yeah. I do think that there's a additional point to that, which is violation or like doing things that are
Yeah.
intrusive. And
Yes.
there's this idea that intuitives are always tuning. I remember at a workshop, there was a woman who came who was new, and before we even started, she said, "I know you're scanning me." I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right.
No, I'm not. In fact, I'm not. But just there's a whole universe, and it's going away, but of people who are predatory, try to foster dependence under the guise of being an intuitive who are cruel,
Absolutely.
and that's
Yes.
going away. It's just that's about integrity, and I think it's easy to find people who are working in integrity, and you can tell by the language that nothing fear-based, because they don't tell us stuff that's to scare us
Never.
at all, ever.
Never.
And it's just,
Ever.
just getting to a high vibration, but just recognizing that how this actually works, which is based on love. Will they let us know if there's something to like be wary of? Yeah, they'll probably do that in a kind way. Like,
Yes,
hey, we'll just switch
absolutely.
lanes, you know, yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
absolutely.
But if,
Could not agree more. So I so thank you for bringing that up. Yes, spirits are never fear-based. People that work in this industry ethically will not go around just scanning people and creating some kind of fostering dependency or any kind of fear.
and the idea behind that is this idea that someone else knows more than you do.
Yes.
And someone
Yes.
else knows you more than you know yourself. And that will never, ever, ever, ever be true.
Mm. I teach classes, in
Mhm,
psychic mediumship. I have them coming up in August, but one of the
yeah,
things I always go through is
mhm,
just because you are a psychic medium or you communicate with angels and guides doesn't make you special. You had a talent that you worked and you continue to work it. It doesn't make you different. It doesn't create us, it doesn't separate us from anyone else. We just have a craft that we work.
yes. And the wound behind that, or the fear behind um, doing spiritual work, is the idea that it's going to create grandiosity.
Yes.
And
And
that
then
the
you're
opposite is true. This makes you humble. because we know what we don't know. And what works is for when I'm working, like for me to be calm and quiet and report, what do they say? Not what I think, what do they say?
Mhm.
So I may know an array of techniques that they could access, and they'll use our knowledge and intelligence and experience and
Yes.
such. But it's getting past, we're in this era of the old model is the guru model, which is
Yes. Yeah.
come to me, I have a gift. You're lucky to be in my presence, but I have a gift and you're lucky to be around me. And the new model is let's work. Let's do
Absolutely.
stuff. Let's share information.
Yes. Yes.
Let's
Yes.
work in that space. Yeah.
And you're right. There are some people who are still working in the old model, but the vast
That's okay.
majority of people are moving into the new
Yeah.
model, which is
Yeah.
just beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, Now, when you connect, when someone comes to you for an appointment and you connect with someone's angels or guides,
Mhm.
do you typically receive a name with that belongs to the guide or that belongs to the?
Well, I'll know who it is for sure. Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I do, yeah. So it's going to be super clear. Like if it's Saint Germain, Archangel Michael, Archangel Air, it's going to be super clear. And my main clair, the way I receive information overwhelmingly is knowing. So
Okay.
I'll know that it's Archangel Ariel. I'll know that it's Archangel Uriel. I'll know that it's Mother Mary. And then I do mediumship a little bit differently, which is it's not so much like who's around, it's like who do you want to talk to? That's my main question for a client. Who do you want to talk to? Or
Mhm.
they'll show up in a reading of like, there's a grandmother here and such. But I think it's what happens is, so we pray, thank you, Mother, Father, God, thank you, archangels and ascended masters, for the perfect guidance, clarity, and peace that is here for Christy right now. And that continues, but that creates the highest vibration possible. And
Yes.
into that high vibration, these folks show up and they know that we're working.
Mhm.
They know what's happening. And
Mhm.
so they'll walk through the open door and make themselves known.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I much the same way. I am very clairsentience, but now what Mark was talking about is he's knowing, which is claircognizance, clear knowing. And it's just beautiful that you can just create this loving environment of such a high vibration for people to work within. I just love
Mhm.
that, Mark. It couldn't, and I thought it was so beautiful because we started this podcast, and I was like, I hope you don't mind. And I said a little prayer before we
Mhm.
started, and then Mark said a little prayer,
Mhm.
and it was just beautiful that you could just feel the energy shift around us as we were
Mhm.
doing that. Now,
Yeah.
I do want to talk to anyone listening to this. When you sit in meditation and you're calling up on a guide or an angel, if you don't get a name right away, it's okay that you don't have a specific name to call whoever is guiding you. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It doesn't make your guide. It just means that you haven't heard the name yet. It's no big deal.
Yeah. And saying, thank you, angels, for being with me. That works. That
Yes.
works. And we could
And
also get to know the guides. Like if there's a guide who perhaps is getting your, let's say you keep saying Saint Germain's name. Thank you, Saint Germain, for being with me. I'd like to get to know you better.
yes, absolutely. And they'll honor that. They will honor that and continue working with you.
Yeah.
Now, do angels ever get tired of working with us?
No, and this is our fear of unworthiness, and is at play in that question. It's an understandable question, which is absolutely not. And they will change things over time, but their job and their joy is to help us out. And perhaps there's a space of evolution with that, which is, I pray every single, thank you, angels, for being strong and present with me every single day. And before I do something, before we start an event, before we start a reading, there's prayer
Yeah.
happening. And they're
Mhm.
right there. And it's just interesting to see then the consistency. Archangel Michael's always there, as are the other angels. I do think it's worth, there's a point here which doesn't get made much, which is our language around angels involves them coming and going. They're always with us. And it's our perception that gets to expand and change. Like, oh, and it's too overwhelming to tune in all the time. Like, and it's not helpful, I think. But just to have an
Yeah.
intention, thank you, angels, for being with me today. And if that means that they give you guidance to do this or that, or to call so and so during the day, great. But to really feel their presence with us always.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I love that. Because you're right. They're with us always. It's
always.
just a
Mhm,
perception of them
mhm,
being around us. Very good. Now,
mhm.
do our pets have guides and angels around them?
They do. And pets also do act as guides for us, but they do have their own angels and such. And when animals transition, and there's been this wave, it was a couple years ago of and this happens always consistently, but people with long-standing pets like a 15-year-old dog or
Mhm.
cat transitioning is trusting that that animal, one, no one knows that animal better than you do, and that you only do right by that animal, but they hang out when they
They
pass.
do. They
Yeah,
do.
that they love
Um,
being around us. Yeah.
yes. And
Mhm.
I get a lot of angels in my animals in my
Mhm.
readings. And
Mhm.
the animals make it clear. They will tell me things that their loved one was doing that I would have no idea.
Okay, that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, it's evidence because they still love us humans when
Mhm.
they transition.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
Now, do angels help loved ones transition? Like, if you have someone that's passing, do angels help that?
for sure. Um, we don't talk about death in America, so it seems random or mysterious, but it's incredibly consistent. I just spoke with someone someone I went to acting school with in New York in '87 and '88. And I had helped. We have a mutual friend who I helped her father transition, and the main thing is happening, especially it's easier to see with people in a coma or who have a long illness or even with dementia who are getting ready to
Yeah.
transition, which is
Mhm.
they're communicating with people in the room who you don't see. These are loved ones and angels who are there to help them to transition. And let's say someone is having a lengthy illness and that they're getting ready to transition, that those people will be in the room, but the angels are part of that. And
Yeah.
what happens then is they get to experience what it's like to be non-physical and what's physical. 1 foot there, 1 foot
Yes.
here.
Yes.
And then so it's easy for them to transition. So they're certainly there. But if something is sudden, let's say in an accident or someone taking their own life, that they will certainly be there to help out and just move that
Absolutely.
over. Yeah.
Yes, it's all with the love of it.
Mhm.
I was reading someone the other day, and their father had already transitioned. So he stepped up,
Mhm.
evidence said who he was. And I said,
Mhm.
"Oh, I said, your dad is showing me that your mom he's been watching TV with your mom." Now, their mom had advanced Alzheimer's, and she had been telling her kids, "Your dad's been watching TV with me. Your dad has been watching TV." And they thought that she was, just not speaking the
Mhm.
truth and kind of losing it a little bit. But no, he really
Mhm.
was there. And I didn't know that had happened. He just stepped up. And my client said, "Oh my goodness, we thought mom was just, losing it more." I was like, "No, no, no."
They're
That
complementary.
veil really thins when the
Yeah.
comas, advanced dementia, Alzheimer's.
Yes, but it's all care, that there's care for people, that we are cared for no matter what is happening.
Yes, yes, we are cared for and loved no matter what.
Mhm.
Is it possible to call, like, if you want help, if you want some angels to work with you, is it possible to call on the incorrect angel?
Never, ever, 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 ever.
I love that.
And why is so it helps us to go, okay, Michael's the angel of clearing and protection, Raphael's the healing angel, Ariel works with environments and animals and the earth. That helps us. They all do everything. They're angels, you know.
Right.
And so no, so no, I think this gets into, and it's a good question in terms of this idea of formality.
Mhm.
And perhaps ultimately what we're doing here is building a relationship with the angels and guides.
Yes.
And that gets to be casual. We could always be respectful. Spiritual manners go a long way. And we're pretty rude to the angels. Where the hell were you when this happened? You know, but just getting into a space where we have this, you know, um, language with them of like, thank you, angels, for this wonderful day. Thank you for all my interactions being positive. Anything you want me to know? And they'll give me guidance. And I say, thank you. Thank you so much. So we get a little hit. We say, thank you. I saw that. Thank you.
I do. I will thought, and there's been a couple of times, even recently, like, and you start recognizing things in your life that could have gone wrong, and all of a sudden you were saved from it. You were taken out.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
The object you were looking for all of a sudden appeared right where you had already looked, and you think, oh, I overlooked that, or someone
Mhm.
put it there for you.
Mhm.
So I want to ask, what do you say to people who will say, you know what, there are no angels. How could they have let such and such happen to me?
Um, to recognize, even with calamity or things that are unwanted, that there is an order to it, and that with there's been a lot of suicides in the last couple of years,
Yes.
so that creates a mess,
Mhm.
and the person committing suicide is seeking relief, and once they decide it's a freight train, there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. I think I'm bringing this up because it's a good example, but then they leave a mess, and the
Yeah.
question for the person left behind, or the people left behind, is what could I have done? How come I didn't, you know,
Mhm.
all these questions. And it's trusting. Ram Dass talked about this, which is maybe the soul, we have to honor the soul's choice to transition. It's not a conscious choice. Sometimes it is. With the suicide, that's a conscious choice. But the soul's choice to transition. And this
Yeah.
gets into when children die, or inexplicable death, that there's a logic to it that we may not see in the present moment.
Mhm.
But we honor that soul's choice on some level, and that could bring us some peace. And
Absolutely.
then just seeing where our spirituality can help, that this will reveal itself at some point of like the logic to it, you know.
Yes. Yes.
But
That's beautifully
I
put
think it's
together.
okay to get angry with God, and like, what the hell, what the hell. And I think we're having a lot of that now in our current era, like what the hell. But it's seeing where we as people get to use our free will and step up, and perhaps we do that uh, with great passion and a light touch, and not to get into anger, not
Right.
to perhaps defy the advocacy for division. This person sucks. These people are idiots, you know, and perhaps that we recognize it's okay for people to be taken care of.
And you're right, I have been having so many suicides in my readings lately, just
Yeah,
so many.
yeah.
And there have been people, of course, some of us left behind. Well, they will feel angry at the person who had transitioned.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
every single time when that happens, a transition loved one will say, it's okay to be angry. Feel
mhm,
it, walk through that anger.
mhm,
It's okay. I'd be angry at me too.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
anger is always understood. You just don't want to live in that anger.
no.
You want to process it and walk through it and get to the
Maya
other side
Angelou
of
has a wonderful quote of like, anger is a fire that can inspire, but we don't want to linger there.
it. Absolutely. Yeah. If you linger there, it can just,
Yeah.
that, not good things can happen.
Mhm.
Okay. How many in number angels are there?
It sure seems like there's an infinite number of angels and guides.
Yes.
The ones that we know by name, or the ones that we want to get to know, that's a good gang, you know. And I think I I would think the goal ultimately is access, not volume, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
and just trust that there's a whole lot of angels out there and a whole lot of guides, and it's fun to get to know them. I do think it's worth acknowledging that it's really helpful to work with more than one guide. If we work with one guide, your ego can kind of slide in there, but to have this array of guides. But Archangel Michael is a fantastic guide. Archangel Gabriel is a fantastic guide.
Yes.
Archangel Raphael is a fantastic guide, as is Kuan Yin, as is Ganesh, as is Saint Germain, as is Lady Portia. That
Yes.
they're
And
wonderful guides.
the other day I was, my business had taken off, completely blessed. I'm very thankful. But
Mhm,
sometimes, as your business grows, if it grows pretty quickly, you can struggle to keep up with not just this portion of it, but the
mhm,
behind the scenes bookkeeping and the management of it.
mhm.
So I was having a moment the other day. I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. So I was like, okay, just so everyone's listening in the spirit world, I need a business management guide. Yes, I have a master's in business. I have a master's in business, but I wanted a guide to step for it and help me. And within a couple of weeks, I was feeling a lot less stressed about it. I was
Great.
feeling more manageable. I had gotten in a better routine of it.
Mhm.
I didn't care who it was. I did not care what name this person had. I needed some help.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
that's
I was just
wonderful.
like,
Mhm.
come help me. I trusted they were going to appear.
Great. That's wonderful.
So now, what are the angels saying about what's happening in our world right now?
Good job. That their message to us is we're doing a good job.
Okay, so now I have to tell you, you can imagine what some people are saying. They're listening to this right now.
Mhm.
They're probably saying, good job. Are you crazy? Do you see what's happening in the world right
Good job that
now?
we're making it through, and it's not slight, and it's not a pat on the head and go about your day. It's an acknowledgement that we're contending with a lot.
Yes.
We're contending with a lot, and just that came through, and it's been consistent last couple of weeks, especially from Archangel Michael. Like, you guys are doing a really good job. You are doing a
Yes.
good job in your life right now. We've noticed a lot of people have transitioned. So being here is, by choice and a privilege. And if we
Mhm.
could just really take that to heart, but as we recognize um, all the different things that are happening, I think it's worth talking about a larger thing. So before the pandemic, um, 2019, I kept getting this message in my automatic writing: don't assume your freedom. Don't assume that you're free.
Mhm.
And we've recognized whatever we believe that it's we've been told what to do for 2+ years, whether we agree with it or not, but we've been told
Right.
what to do. All of our patterns got interrupted. Everything changed with isolation, all these different things. And so with this, once again, so that message has resonated with me of like, let's not assume that we're free. And
Mhm.
what does it mean to actually be free? What do I then advocate for? How do I behave?
Right.
Where's my attention go and my focus go? And also, so that's a big topic, but it's just recognizing it's okay to be free. And maybe though, in advocating for our own freedom, that we might help out others we might disagree with for them to be free also,
Yes.
you know, and just seeing where, there's this, um, it's too easy to live in division right now, and
Absolutely.
blame, and to get into ownership and advocacy, you know.
Mhm.
But before the pandemic, two things. So there was that message. There was also the wording kept coming to me before the pandemic of like health spaces and Zoom. And my sister was in the other room, helped me to my phone system stopped working. And I'd used Zoom before and didn't like it. And I'm like, okay, I'll get on Zoom because I had to. And then when the pandemic happened, I hit the ground running with having health spaces for people to come and gather, which
Mhm.
continues on Saturdays and Tuesdays. Um, but it's just seeing that message of good job. It really is heartfelt of like, it's a hell of a thing to be alive right now.
Yes.
And we are doing a good job. And just that acknowledgement. And there's way too much information coming at us. And this
Mhm.
is, I think it's worth talking for a moment about anxiety.
Yes.
And why is, it's a long story, but making it short, I'm part of the autism community. And I learned a lot about EMFs, wireless radiation and such. And our phones are great technology. They are not good for our brains and our bodies. And what is happening right now is our brains are working out of balance. And
Mhm.
what has vanished from our lives mostly is long brain waves, which would be sitting down to read or to
Yes.
work or without
Yeah.
interruption, the interruption of even looking at your phone and such.
Mhm.
But just letting your brain have a space of a long period of time, perhaps half hour, perhaps more, to have an uninterrupted activity,
Mhm.
having a conversation, walking in nature. But what is happening is we're constantly bombarded and everything's a short brainwave. Everything is quick.
Yes.
And so our bodies are working out of balance
Mhm.
with that. And so the things that I advocate for people to do is to let's release this idea that we have to always be available, including the middle of the night. Let's protect our sleep. Let's
Yes.
perhaps not let your phone be your alarm clock. It's way too powerful and it's constantly connecting with cell towers. And that activity is registered by our brain to get a battery powered alarm clock and to have no tech on, to perhaps really question um, any Alexa or Alexa system or digital assistant system, which are like cell towers in your home.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they're constantly blasting out a radius constantly. Um, and just seeing what it's like to just notice the technology, which is invisible, all the technology, the wireless radiation around you,
Mhm.
and to see what
And
that does with anxiety.
it is so true. And, I do a lot of life coaching and work with people
Mhm,
on being able to, and people say, I can't meditate. I can't meditate.
mhm,
Um, Sometimes meditation is walking in nature and just releasing and getting away from. And what really tuned me into this was a few years ago. All my life, I'd been an avid reader. I could
mhm,
sit down and lose myself in a book
mhm,
for all day. Well, I had gotten busy with life, you know how that goes. And
mhm,
then when I started having time to read again, I realized my attention span was not what it used to be.
mhm,
And when I started doing more research, I realized I had lost some of that long, and you can train yourself to have it back. You can.
mhm. Okay.
It takes brain power because you are going to be pulled. You're going to get bored with your book. You're going to get bored with that walk, and you go, "Where's my phone? Where's my phone?" Put it down. Make yourself be away from it.
Mhm,
You will thank yourself.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But the thing that has vanished from our lives is being bored. And we see that as
Yeah.
a negative thing. Our brains need space to do nothing, to
Yeah.
process and to reorganize. And that's vanished.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
is a beautiful thing. Do
Hmm.
yourself a favor and be bored for a little while.
Be bored. Yeah. Or I would advocate is, well, let's see, mainly like protecting your sleep environment, but also just perhaps your proximity to the phone,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yes.
to maybe turn off some notifications, if not all of them, but we
Mhm.
don't need to have this thing calling to us all the time. And to really interrupt this idea that we all are always available, and to do something different.
Absolutely. I can't say enough.
Yeah.
Can't say enough about that.
Mhm,
Well, Mark, I want to thank you so much for being with me
mhm,
today and discussing the angels. Now, for anyone watching or listening, you can find Mark at
mhm,
markmezadourian.com.
mhm.
And on the comments of wherever you're looking at this, on the comments will be how to spell his name, but I will say it to those listening just in case. His last name is Mezadourian. Mezadourian. You can find he has a website, Twitter, YouTube, very active on Instagram also. He has some free events. They're called where he holds space. You can come to is it held space? Is that what you
Health
call them?
spaces, yeah, yeah, health spaces.
And you can find those on his website. Also, he does a lot of great things where he offers packages, which I really appreciate. So, yes, you can make a one-on-one appointment with him to have him help you connect and get messages from your guides, your loved ones, your angels. But also, he offers packages where he can help remove energy blocks and talk about past life and ancestral clearings. And we didn't get into that in this
Mhm.
podcast, but there is a lot of beautiful things that he has on his website. Please go and check him out. If you have any questions of concerns, you can also contact me, Christy, God1111 at
Mhm.
Gmail.
Mhm.
You want to tell us your email account real quick?
Mine?
Yes.
Yeah, mark@markmezadourian.com. And also just want to say that like on YouTube, there's lots of things there. There's a playlist called Start Here, which is just kind of like just working with angels in quick installments, and like clearing energy, calling in the angels, clearing old vows, just like systematically working and just seeing if that resonates for people. I suspect anyone who's listened all this way, it resonates. So but also just
But
if you want to do a quick 15-minute reading and just see how this works, people are welcome to do that. So yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, thank everyone for listening and watching. And thank you again, Mark, for being with me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate all that you shared. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I hope everyone watching and listening has a blessed and beautiful day.